Good morning, students. Today, we will discuss syncretic tradition and the contribution of Kabir and Nanak. I have planned to divide this lecture in two parts, and these two parts will be delivered through two lectures. So, today in this lecture, I will deal with the first part, that is all about what is syncretic tradition and what is Bhakti movement. And in the second part, I will discuss what is Kabir and Nanak contribution to the Bhakti tradition and what is their socio-political, philosophy. So let's begin that how to understand a syncretic tradition. So syncretic means it's a process of synchronization. Synchronization means it is the mixture of good aspect of the different thoughts, different ideology, different uh, you know categories, right? This is syncretic means it's a synchronization process. So again, what does it mean? It means uh, that this syncretic tradition is a tradition that doesn't believe uh, in the essentialist doctrine. Right. So, how to understand the essentialist doctrine? Essentialist doctrine basically means, uh, in each religion there are some prescription, and if you want to be part of that religion, then you have to follow those prescription, because these prescriptions are the essential character of that religion. Right. So in a sense, essentialists are those who are, also having orthodox with their character. So syncretic tradition is possible when religion, move away from their essentialist doctrine by observing the beliefs from the environment. Now, the syncretic tradition that is possible within Hinduism, that is possible within Islam, that is possible within the Christianity. So, basically, to establish a syncretic tradition within a religion, what that religion has to do, that religion has to move away from their essentialist character, from their essentialist doctrine, and this religion must observe the beliefs, the positive things from environment, from different categories. Now, to bring syncretic tradition, uh, political and historical situation plays an important role. So if the environment is not conducive, then you cannot bring any tradition, including syncretic tradition. Now, during 14th and 16th century in India, anti-establishment and anti-essentialist movement occurred, which moved people away from orthodox and conservative form of religion. Now, what is interesting about human being is that human being, they cannot limit their taste to one thing, right? So there is always a thesis, there is a antithesis, there is a synthesis. Now that dialectics always happens with human mind and human action, right? It is the same human who were accepting the essential, the essential character of the religion, who were accepting or who were loving the establishment, right, before the 14th century. But after the 14th century, or from 14th century to 16th century, people, they become critical about the establishment. They become critical about the essentialist character of the religion, right? Now, why people hesitate? The reason is that it is the force of dialectics. That's why people started agitation. Now during this 14th and 16th century in India, anti-establishment, anti-essentialist movement occurred, and that moved people away from the orthodox and conservative form of religion. Now people started criticizing orthodox and conservative aspect of the religion, and these people were belonging, and who were those people? These people were belonging to lower caste, women, and other marginalized section, along with some social reformer. Right. Some of the social reformer, it is due to their a typical way of thinking. They were getting pain, and others, uh, such as I said, lower caste, women, marginalized, other marginalized sections, they were being oppressed by the patriarchal Brahminical tradition. So these are the people who started this movement. Now when we talk about oppression, it is not that the patriarchal Brahminical tradition was oppressing. At that time in India, you will find both Hindus and Muslim, they were coexisting. Now oppression was also found in the Muslim religion, in Islam also. Oppression was also done by the Muslim ruler, who were engaging in oppression and forcibly converting Hindus and destroying and looting the temples. Now this Muslim ruler, they were also believing the oppression. You can say that the rulers, or the oppression done by the rulers, it was political. The oppression done by patriarchal Brahminical tradition, it was social. Right. So oppression was the main cause for the emergence of syncretic tradition. After 14th century in India, many saints and philosophers discovered the artificial barriers within religion, which were causing inter-religion and inter-religious and intra-religious domination. Right. Some of the philosophers, some of the saints within the Hinduism, within the Islam, they found that whatever the common, whatever the society is doing or was doing in the name of religion, in fact it is not the core of the religion, it is not the religion. Now Hindus started believing that that Hinduism is not following, or the Hindus are not following the Hinduism in a truest sense. Muslims are not following Islam in a truest sense. What is being followed by Hindus and Muslims at large, in fact, that is not the real meaning of their respective religion. Right? They understood religion in a improper sense. There are barriers, artificial barriers within the religion, and these artificial barriers within the religion is the result of misunderstanding of that religion by their respective people. And it is because of that artificial barriers, there is domination, there is oppression within the religion and among the religion. And these saints and philosophers, they were critical of social hierarchy and atrocities being practiced in the name of religion by both Hindu Brahmin and Muslim clerics. Right. Now in such a situation, Sufism came to India through a holy person, or Sufism came to India through a holy person whose name was Khwaja Mayuddin Chisti, and Sufism became an alternative form of Islam, having benevolent attitude towards all. Right now, it is due to this, impact of those saints and philosophers, Sufism emerged as an alternate form of Islam. I mean, Muslim got divided into two categories. One category believed in the mainstream Islam, the other category became, Sufism, a Sufist. And the Sufist approach towards all was benevolent. Khwaja Mayuddin Chisti came to India during the rule of Prithviraj Chauhan, and he had a great influence over the ordinary people by the simple teaching, or by his simple teaching, that God can be reached through devotion and love. God can be reached through devotion and love. Sufi saints had a great influence on Indian society, especially in North India. Right. Now, Sufism first emerged as a form of syncretic tradition in the North India with the contribution of Khwaja Mayuddin Chisti. And what was the belief of Sufism? The belief of Sufism was that one can reach to the God by the devotion. Right. God can be reached by devotion and love. Now, exactly parallel to Sufism, Bhakti movement took place in both South and North India, professing this similar belief. Bhakti means also devotion, that through devotion one can reach to the God. One can reach to the God. Bhakti movement had attacked the Brahminical ritualism, caste and gender hierarchy. So Bhakti movement was critical about ritualism, gender hierarchy relating to the caste and gender within the Brahminical tradition. So one may give the example of Sai Baba as the representative of syncretic tradition. Though by birth Sai Baba was a Muslim, yet Hindus were viewing him as an incarnation of Lord Shiva, and he was popular among lower caste as well. Sai Baba was also seen as the protector of dog, and dog is considered by the Brahminical Hindus as an impure animal. Right. Now Sai Baba was rejecting. So why I gave the example of dog. You can get a sense how syncretic tradition through Sai Baba, it was challenging, it was contradicting the Brahminical Hinduism. Now, Sai Baba was rejecting the religious bigotry of both Hindus and Muslims, and indicating that there is only one divine presence, irrespective of name by which it is called. You can remember Sai Baba used to say, Sabka Malik Ek Hai. So whoever you are doesn't matter, but your Malik, your owner is the one. right? So if we are the children of one God, then why this religious bigotry in Hinduism and Muslim? Why there is infighting? Why there is hatredness? In many ways, Sai Baba is a part of larger Bhakti tradition. Now, during colonial rule, when the Christianity was having strong influence on Indian society and was busy in converting people with its civilizing mission, the upper caste and upper class people of Indian society did not convert to Christianity because they were perceiving Christianity as impure. They were perceiving Christians as melcha, impure. But on the other hand, several Hindu reformist sects were formed on the basis of syncretic value. They started sharing that major tenets of Christianity is a part of ancient Hinduism. Now, during the colonial rule, Christianity started its civilizing mission, and Christianity had a greater influence over the Indian society. It was converting peoples of Indian society, mainly from the downtrodden people. But the upper caste, upper class people, they were not converting themselves because they were perceiving Christians as impure. But at the same time, several Hindu reformist sects that were formed on the basis of syncretic value, and they started sharing that Christianity and Hinduism are not different. The basic tenets, the major tenets of Christianity is a part of ancient Hinduism, right? And these reformist Hindu sects were also deeply connected with rationalism, as they wish to emphasize the supremacy of Hindu religion and Hindu nation, as they were against the Western colonialization. Now, why it appears that there is a strong connection between Christianity and Hindu reformist sects, because Christianity, it was also trying to convince people so that people will convert into Christianity. At the same time, the Hindu reformist sects, they propagated that there is a strong connection between the Christianity and Hindus. So Hindus are not different from Christianity. Thereby, one can get a feeling that as if this Hindu reformist sects gives a sense to the higher caste, higher class Hindus who were considering Christianity as impure. Now they will join the Christianity. It appears. But in reality, it was not. In reality, these reformist Hindu sects, they were connected with nationalism. Sorry, I uttered the word rationalism. They were connected with nationalism. By reforming Hinduism, they wish to emphasize the superiority of Hindu religion in comparison to the Christianity. They wish to establish a Hindu nation because they means the reformist Hindu sects. There are so many, several, sects, Hindu reformist sects. They were against the Western colonialization. Colonialization. They were for identity and self-respect movement. These reformist Hindu sects were for identity and self-respect, and they knew that the identity and self-respect can be achieved through the decolonization process. Decolonization process against the Western colonies. Right? At the same time, these several sects, reformist Hindu sects, they were accepting the Western values of equality, liberty, and fraternity. In other words, they were accepting the modernization. So on one hand, these reformist Hindu sects, they are interested in decolonization, and decolonization was directed to protect the distinct identity and self-respect of India or Hindus. On the other hand, they were believing the modernization. They were accepting the Western values of equality, liberty, and fraternity. And they were connecting that these values, equality, liberty, and fraternity, that is part and parcel of Hindu philosophy. Right. So though Indian society has, has started to be decolonized and modernized with the, impact or influence of reformist Hindu sects, yet the process has not been complete yet. Yet the process has not been complete. Consequently, the significance of this movement, these reformist Hindu sects, or the movements done by the reformist Hindu sects, it is still significant. The significance of this movement is still there, right? And why I mentioned these reformist Hindu sects? Because reformist Hindu sects, they were moving towards the syncretic tradition in order to enrich or in order to expose that how Hindu religion is an enriched religion and why Hindu religion is superior, and they were interested in establishing a Hindu nation. Right. Now let's come to the Bhakti movement. As I have mentioned earlier, when we talk about syncretic tradition, we mainly mean two movement. One is the Sufi movement, another is the Bhakti movement. And why I am coming to the Bhakti movement? There is no much difference between the Sufism and Bhaktism. And why I am coming to Bhakti movement? Because here in this movement we can find Kabir Das and Guru Nanak. They are two important proponents of Bhakti movement among many. Bhakti means devotion, and Bhakti movement means mutual, intense, emotional attachment between the God and devotee. It is a movement to establish a mutual, intense, emotional attachment. Mutual, from God to devotee, devotee to God. Mutual, intense, emotional attachment. And this movement started in 17th and 18th century in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Right. And later it spread to Karnataka, Maharashtra, and reached North India in 15th century. And during 15th to 17th century, this movement was at its peak. Right. So Kabir and Nanak, They are the product of Bhakti movement, product of syncretic tradition, and they have contributed towards the Bhakti movement and syncretic tradition. And what is their contribution? In the next class, in my second part of this lecture, I will let you know. Right? So this movement, this Bhakti movement, it has started in 17th and 18th century in southern India, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And later it came to Maharashtra, Karnataka, and in 15th century it reached to the North India. From 15th to 17th century, this movement was at its peak. Now Bhakti saints, they moved against the restraints propagated by Buddhist and Jain school of thought. To Buddhist or Jain school of thought, if you can restrict your desire, if you can discard your desire, then you will get the salvation. Kamonara vinas re dukkhar vinas. You can get the salvation. Right? But the Bhakti saints, they professed that the ultimate devotion to God is the means to salvation. So it is not the self-restriction, it is not discarding your desire, it is through the devotion to the God one can get the salvation. So the route of bhakti for salvation of human being is not new. You know, in Bhagavat, it is there in the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna has said that there is different ways to me, and one of the way is the bhakti marga. So through devotion you can also achieve me. And who is Bhagavan or who is Krishna? Now Krishna is the salvation. To find me is to have your salvation. So this bhakti movement and its contribution, or its contribution of understanding to bhakti, that is something not new, that has been there in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Marga. Maybe proponents of Bhakti movement, they got inspired from the analysis on Bhakti Marg in Bhagavad, Gita. However, this movement started as a response to the evil practices that had crept into Hinduism. So why this Bhakti movement started? The Bhakti movement started in order to dismantle the evil practices within the Hinduism, in order to purify the Hinduism, in order to, what I will say, that in order to re-establish the Hinduism, in order to reclaim the superiority of Hinduism, right? So this Bhakti movement was not against Hinduism. In a critical sense, this Bhakti movement was for the Hinduism, right? But it was against the evil practices of the Hinduism. Besides this reason, there are also other reasons which fueled the spread of Bhakti movement. And what are those reasons? Those reasons are the spread of Islam. The spread of Islam has reinforced the Bhakti movement, the emergence of great reformers, the influence of Sufi sects. Now Sufism has a greater impact over Bhaktiism. Sufi movement had a greater impact over the Bhakti movement. Sufi movement started from the Islam and it became an alternative to the Islam. And Bhakti movement started from the Hinduism and it became an alternative to the Hinduism. In other words, Sufism, it was a process of purification of Islam, and Bhaktism, it was a process of purification for Hinduism, right? And there was also influence of Vaishnavism and Shaivism. So these are some of the other reasons that has fueled the spread of Bhakti movement. So as we know, the principles on which Bhakti movement was based are, now they believe that God is one. Second, all men are equal. Here men means women also. All individuals are equal. Then it believes giving up the caste practices. So it was against the caste. And fourth, they think that devotion is important than the ritual. So these are some of the principles on which this Bhakti movement was, based. The effects of Bhakti movement. The effects of Bhakti movement, or you can say that the significance of Bhakti movement. What are those significance? Now, due to the impact of Bhakti movement, social giving, what we can understand, seva. Social giving, seva was started. Now, Bhakti movement introduced dana, charity, what we call. Now, Bhakti movement reinforced the community kitchen with free food. Believing on non-violence is another character of the Bhakti movement. Helping and feeding poor people, promoting folk culture, these are some of the significance of Bhakti movement. Along with it, Bhakti movement improved the social relation between the Hindus and Muslims. Bhakti movement created positive environment for the emancipation of the weaker section of the society. Now, Bhakti movement, this is most important. Bhakti, it is due to the impact of Bhakti movement, unification of India under national consciousness became possible to a large extent, because Bhakti movement was not against the pluralism or diversity. It was not against the pluralism and diversity. It was against the essential character of the religion. So that's why unification of India under the impact of Bhakti movement became possible to a large extent. Though Bhakti movement brought in the much needed emphasis to change the regressive form of religion in society, yet Bhakti movement could not achieve its objective in truest thought. So no doubt the idea of Bhakti movement was good. The idea of Bhakti movement was towards reclaiming the position of Hinduism. It was not against Hinduism. It was for Hinduism. It was against the regressive form of religion, regressive form of Hinduism. But it could not achieve its objective. Why? Because there was, or maybe there was lacking of organization in this movement. There was opposition from the orthodox classes in the society, and there are persecution by the persecution by the royals, because society is always against the change, right? Maybe the existence of society is related with the orthodoxy practice in the society. Right. So these are some of the reasons. So the first reason is the such organization was lacking, or such movement was lacking the proper organization. Second, there was challenges from the orthodox classes in the society. Third, king were prosecuting the propagator of bhakti movement. So these may be the three main reasons why bhakti movement failed, despite its goal was good for the society. So here I am stopping. In the next class, I will discuss what is Kabir's contribution to uh, Bhakti movement or syncretic tradition, and what is Nanak's contribution to the Bhakti movement or syncretic tradition, and what is the similarity and what is the differences in their contribution. So thank you very much.